This is my Babidi Majin burn deck. One copy of the leaf. Or Majin Revive. Or Mind Controlling Babidi. Or Miraculous Comeback Ultimate Gohan. Or Goku Savagery Awaken. Or Ghost Attack Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. Or SS Blue Kaioken Goku. Or Topo Rice Aid. Or Bodyguard Legend. Or Isa Pain Time. Or Violent Rays. 3 Lord Slug Giant Force. 3 Sin Shenanigans of Calamity. 3 King Piccolo Giant Force, and 1 Majin Buu Sealed Ball. Alright, so the first thing is when you play your leader in your leader area, you get to choose 1 Majin Buu Sealed Ball from your deck and play it active mode. So here's the field card, Majin Buu Sealed Ball. Has a auto once per turn. When the number of cards on this card reaches 5 or higher, place this card in the drop area, then choose up to 1 Majin Buu Revive from your deck and play it, and then shuffle your deck. So once this gets 5 cards under it, you can automatically send it to a drop in order to bring out this Majin Buu Revive, which is a 20k double strike with an auto. When you play this card with the skill of Majin Buu's Sealed Ball, inflict 1 damage to your opponent. So there's the Majin Buu burn through the ball. So the ball lets you just off the bat with your leader automatically sets you up to at least burn your opponent for 1 late game. So obviously the goal will be to try to get your opponent down to 1 life, or at least down to 2, and then play something like Savagery Awaken, for example. Play him. Do his auto crit to your life to burn your opponent for 1 damage. So that way your opponent's down from 2 to 1. So then down to 1. Swing with this card, which will trigger your leader's auto. That when you attack with a battle card, you draw a card, then place up to 1 card from the top of your deck under your ball. So once you get to 5 cards under this card, which technically should be by turn 5, right? Then you'll be able to do this effect, bring out Majin Buu Revived, and deal your opponent the last damage. So 1 damage from this, 1 damage from that, that's 2. And by turn 5, your opponent should be at least at 1 or 2 life, right? So pretty much all you have to do is get to that point, and pretty much got game right there and then. So that's the main win con, is trying to get your opponent to 2 or 1 life and then finish them off through those burn effects. But we have other win cons in the deck, of course. To awaken, we have 6 or less. So this awakens when you have 6 or less life. Draw 2 cards and awaken. So it's nice that it awakens early. It could potentially awaken as soon as turn 1. Like, let's say you go first, right? You play an energy, you end your turn, and your opponent goes. Let's say they swing with their leader and they double strike you with their leader or something. Bang, now you're down at 6, and then now you can awaken, right? So that way, on your turns, you can start, going off with your leader on the awaken side. It has 2 effects, of course. Active main. Once per turn, choose 1 of your battle cards, and it gains 5k power for the duration of the turn, which is a nice effect to have, especially if you give this effect to something that dual attack. You're giving it 5k for the duration of the turn, so dual attack, so it can take advantage of being stronger. So if you have a 25k dual attacker, use this, you turn it to a 30k dual attacker, which is much better, right? So that's nice to have. There aren't no dual attackers in this deck, except for one of our unisons, but this can only give it 2 battle cards. But it's just something to keep in mind in case you want to build a different version of this deck where you want to take advantage of that, dual attack with power boost effect. But in general, just being able to give a battle card 5k boost is always nice, because that means you can, turn your 25ks into 30ks, right? You can turn your 20ks into 25s. You can turn your 15s into 20s, which is really nice. So, for example, like playing Bodyguard Allergic, for free, right? Use the effect to give it 5k, so it's 20k. Swing with it, E Supreme Kai, so you can have a 30k double strike, which is better than having a 25k double strike, right? That kind of stuff. So that's nice to have that, free power boost essentially in this kind of concept, right? With other versions of the deck, of course, we could try to use that effect more so. But for now, it's just a decent effect to have. And then he has an auto once per turn when your battle cards attack. Draw one card and place up to one card from the top of your deck under your Majin Buu sealed ball. So you get the sooner he easily awakens, which is nice, and then the added bonus of you attack with a battle. You give a battle card 5k boost attack with it. Obviously, you're going to do that, and you get to draw. So somewhat like Pan, but not as good, right, per se. But the fact that you can do this every turn, the fact that you can always power boost a battle card once per turn, and then attack with it. As long as you keep the battle card in play, you can keep doing that every turn, which is nice. Pan, you have to play a battle card to draw, so that's the difference. Of course, you see the leader has 10k on the front, 10k on the back. Not too big of a deal, but it's just noteworthy. We do have an effect that kind of makes up for it, which is King Piccolo's -2 ability lets you give your leader 5k boost until the start of your next turn, so it kind of makes up for it, this being a 10k. That's cool, not a problem. We've worked with that before. But the fact that it has an inherent win con with the Majin Buu Revive strategy, it's worth it. Being a 10k awakened leader. So there's that. We already mentioned about Majin Buu's abilities, and he's a 20k double strike. Might as well mention the little strategy. Obviously, one of the best case scenario that you want to be in is a scenario where obviously you already start off with the Majin Buu sealed ball, so you're pretty much going to be able to get to the point of bringing out Majin Buu Revive, and you notice he is the 20k double strike, so that's relevant. And then we have Savagery Awaken, which can burn our point from 1, so that right there is 2 damage for those two. But if we also set up early Lord Slug Giant Force, and give him counters, so that way he ends up with 4 counters. That way he can potentially give us a burn if our opponent negates our attacks, right? So that's a backup burn right there off of him. Plus a burn from Majin Buu, plus a burn from Savagery Awaken. And then Majin Buu is double strike, so that right there has potential for 5 damage if you can take advantage of all of that. Well, a little bit more if you include his attack plus his attack, so that's an extra 2, so that's potential 7 damage in that regard. So it's 2 plus potential 7 damage just from those 3 cards alone. If this attack goes through and then you use the burn effect and this does this burn and you get an attack through, and then this does this burn and you get this double strike through, that's potential 7 damage right there. Which you won't really need per se, but it's there. But let's just say you get no damage through attacks, all you get is this burn effect, and you get this card's burn effect and this card's burn effect. At least 3 out of 7 is not bad, right? So 3 damage, like by turn 5, it's good. It's good. And of course we got Topo, Violent Rays, like your allergic, Kaioken Goku. We got some ways to try to stall to turn 5, potentially turn 6, because then turn 6 we go with him. Turn 6, Mind Controlling Babidi play. You play this. You have 6 red energy. You can look at up to 7 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 red battle cards with 25k power or less, and other than the evil wizard Babidi himself, and play them yourself your deck. And you got 3 really good targets for this effect. Miraculous Comeback Ultimate Gohan, obviously Goku's Savagery Awaken, for its burn effect, and we got Ghost Attack Super Saiyan G. Gotenks. Because when you play him, you get 3 tokens. And if you have 4 or less cards in your hands, this card and your tokens get double strike. So imagine the idea of, imagine getting 2 of these out, for example, from Babidi's effect. Now you have 2 20Ks with double strike, plus 6 15K tokens with double strike. That right there is a potential of 16 damage plus Babidi, you know, if you want to attack and combo with him, 17 damage on turn 6. So the potential 17 damage on turn 6. And let's say you drop Bodyguard Legend for free. That's 18 potential damage on turn 6. Right? Not to mention the fact that if the Majin Buu's sealed ball goes off that same turn from you attacking, then that can burn your opponent for damage by him coming out. So that's 19. And then he's double strike, so that's an extra 2, so that's 21. 21 potential, you know, amount of damage on, you know, on turn 6. Granted, you don't need all of that. It's just pointing out the potential. That's why I say potential. It's like potential. For some reason, your opponent ends up gaining a shitload of life, right? Having this ability to potentially do a lot of damage is useful to note in case something like that ever did happen. So far, we're used to our opponent only having 8 life, and all we have to do is 8 damage within the game in order to win, right? But you never know. We do have Rejuvenate, so that's starting to add some life gaining into the game, so that does cause the game to go to a different level, which is, can't rely on just dealing 8 damage only in a game. May have to deal 9 or 10 or more, right? And then there's some leaders that just have the ability to make it hard for you to deal them the 8 damage in the first place, so, you know, there's that. Right, Miraculous, Gohan, 25k with double strike, right? Gotta love that. And then he has a permanent if you have only 3 or less cards besides this card in your hand. Reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand or battle area by 4. So he'll be a 2-drop. So that's pretty nice for him to have a way to cheat himself out. You know, being 25k double strike, and then he has the auto when this card KOs your opponent's battle card, inflict 2 damage to your opponent. That's really nice. You know, it's gonna make him really broken, and cards similar to him is if they create like some type of card like you can combo and give a card somewhat of an effect to like KO a battle card. Basically revenge, but on your turn. Essentially death touch like in Magic. You know, revenge mostly works on your opponent's turn, but imagine if they gave us an effect that works on our turn. So to give him the ability to KO through an effect would be busted because, you know, that should trigger the effect. But anyway, just by being a 25k, and we can use the leader's effect to make it a 30k, that will greatly increase our chances of taking down something as a result of battle and burn them for 2. Pretty nice. And then we got Goku's Everything Awaken, Deflect 25k, Auto, take 2 cards from your life, place them to the drop area, deal your opponent 1 damage. So hopefully you only need to do this once, so you need at least a minimum of 3 life in order to play at least just one of these, and hopefully the Majin Buu revive strategy kicks in afterwards and wins you the game that way, right? Or your opponent's already at 1 and this is more than enough to take them down. Or use this to burn them and then attack, because of course you use the leader ability to make it a 30k and, you know, swing with it and, you know, try to drop double strike if you can. Go that route. And of course, we mentioned about those attacks. Trunks and Gotenks' ability to, you know, swarm the field is essentially a 1-card win con, and when you combine it with Babidi, it's essentially a 2-card overkill win con, right? Going wide. So we definitely have a going wide strategy. We got burn strategy in here. So we got good stuff in here. Of course, we got Kaioken Goku, the board wiping. You play this card from your hand, choose all your opponent's battle cards with 20k power or less and KO them. Has an active main, pay 2 red if you lead your card red, which it is, and you place this card from your hand to the drop area. You choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it gets negative 25k power for the duration turn. So that comes in handy with any problematic battle card we need to get rid of. Topo Righteous Aid, counter attack. Choose one other card in your hand and place it into the drop area, then negate the attack, and then play this card. Permanent, if it's your opponent's turn, reduce the cost of this card by 2, so it costs 2 to play every opponent's turn. And auto, if it's your opponent's turn, when you play this card for the duration of the turn, your opponent can't attack unless they choose 2 cards from their hands and place them into a drop area for each attack. So our Floodgate Defense, plus a 20k body, and with the leader's ability, it could be a 25k successful. Bodyguard Allergic, it's a blocker, 15k. Permanent, when your opponent has a battle card in their battle area and you don't have a battle card in your battle area, you can play this card from your hand without paying its cost. It's a free 15k. So it helps us start getting aggro, start applying pressure to our opponent. Plus, it's a blocker, so it has defensive capabilities, of course. Spring Kai, combo it for 1 energy, get 10k boost, and double strike for whatever you're attacking with. That's optional, but I always choose to give things double strike. Gotta get that early game damage. And then we got Violent Raise. Counter attack if your card is red, which it is. Negate the attack if you choose one card from your hand, discard it, and then choose one of these effects. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with 20k power or more, or your opponent can't attack with unison with 20k power or more. We always choose the battle card one part of the effect. Lord Slug, Giant Force, crit, 15k, active main, +1 ability. You may choose one card in your hand, discard it. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it gets minus 10k power for the turn. You can combine this effect with your Ultimate Gohan, so that way it makes it easier for him to KO something, especially when you're using the leader's ability to boost them up to make them a 30k, and then use this to drop anything down by 10k is useful. Same goes for Sin Shenron. Sin Shenron can do 15k, so doing 15k with Sin Shenron and doing the 5k boost to go on to make them a 30k, taking something down that you may lose the 15k power is good. So there's synergies with the unisons, obviously. And then he has the auto, if your leader card is red, when your opponent activates a counter skill, deal 1 damage to your opponent by -4. So if they play a counter attack, which we usually expect our opponent to do, or a counter play, these are the 2 most common types of counters we see being used. Counter attack, the most commonly used, obviously. We can take advantage of that and burn our opponent with this card in that situation. And the goal, as I said before, is to get our opponent down to 2 lives. So that way, cards like this and like MicroRecords Revive, and even Gohan and Goku Savage Awakening can help us finish off the game easily just by playing them, using them. And then we have Sin Shenron, Unison of Calamity, has the permanent. Your red cards can attack your opponent's battle cards in active mode, which comes in handy to get rid of any problematic battle card that has barrier that keeps this inactive mode with barrier, trying to avoid getting removed. We can remove it now. This also synergizes with Ultimate Gohan, so that we can attack a battle card that's in active mode that's more likely a weak battle card in the first place, so we'll take advantage of taking it down with Gohan so we can burn our point for 2. And then here's the +1 ability. Let's just choose up to 2 of our opponent's battle cards and they get minus 15k power, so this can help us, control the board, a little bit of a board wipe, but definitely can help us weaken battle cards so we can take them down through attacks, especially with Gohan. And then we have -2 ability. Look at your opponent's hand. Choose up to 1 battle card with 25k power or less and discard it. Helps us get rid of our opponent's topos or super combos or anything of that nature. Or any problematic card from our opponent's hand, we can take it out of their hands and discard it. Another good thing of this effect, especially with the fact that we're using the Majin Seal Ball, is using this effect to look at our opponent's hands to see if our opponent has a gassing Trunks or something, or uses a charismatic villain or something like that, or just any type of counterplay. Like, we just want to see what our opponent has. That way, we can plan out our end game. So it's always important to know what our opponent has in their hands for when we're trying to go for game, especially when it comes to combo math. Let's say you want to swing with Majin Buu, for example, 20k double strike and try to go for game. You want to know if your opponent can out combo or not. And that's where Shin comes into play. Helps you know if your opponent can out combo you or not. I've been in scenarios where my opponent has like shitload of cards in their hands, like 20 to 30 cards in their hands, and I'm like playing with like 6 or 7 cards in my hands. And it's like, man, it'd be nice to look at their hand and know if they have enough cards in their hands to combo. It looks like it, right? By having a lot of cards in their hands, but a lot of times those cards could be unisons and extra cards and maybe 10k combo power that requires an energy. So, your opponent might actually have less cards in their hands to combo with than you think they do. Just because their hand is big doesn't mean they have a lot of combo power. So, using Calamity to confirm that, that's what will greatly increase your chances of winning. And then we have King Piccolo, Giant Bolas, critical dual attack, 19k, -2 ability. Choose up to one of your red leader cards and it gets 5k power until the start of your next turn. Sorry. So this gives us the ability to Senzu being our leader for a turn, which is nice. Reduces our need to combo a lot to defend. And then we have his -4 active main ability, which not too useful in this deck per se, because to truly play it out, since the leader's not an energy untapping leader, you won't be able to do this on turn 8, and you probably won't even go that far. The furthest will probably go to turn 6, so we're not really using it for the +X ability. But let's say you had 10 red energy, then you pay 4 to play him, then pay and this is if you're going to do it on one turn, by the way. So let me explain this one first. In one turn, you're going to need 10 energy. 4 to play him, 4 for the for red part of the effect of the card, and then 2 just so you can do 2 damage. And that's just to do 2 damage. If you only need to do 1 damage, then you'll need 9 energy, right? But let's say you want to, could we do this sooner than later, right? Well, let's say you drop this on. We wanted to have 4 markers, obviously, so you'll drop this on turn 4. So it has 4 markers, and then turn 5 you'll play a card. You'll have 5 energy, so you could do 1 damage on turn 5 if this is still in play with the 4 markers. So then you remove the 4 markers, pay 4 red, 1 of anything, which will still be red, obviously, so you're paying 5 red all together, and do your opponent 1 damage on turn 5. That is a possibility. You know what I mean? So that is something you could consider trying. If it works, it works. If it works, it works, right? So there's that. But he's really only in here because he's a 19k critical dual attacker. The ability to attack twice and the fact he's low cost means on turn 4 you could pay 3 to play him, and then still have 1 energy up. Swing with him if your opponent negates his first attack. That's alright. Restand it because it has dual attack. Swing again. If they don't stop the second attack, then you chop Issa Pink Kai, and you get to 29k double strike. Dump your hand into the attack and try to go for game. So that's the idea. It's the UA strategy, the whole unstoppable attack. You're trying to get an attack to go through, and once you get an attack to go through, double strike, dump your hand, go for game, right? And of course, Majin Buu Sealed Bowl has the effect, of course, playing our Majin Buu Revive, which is, our deck's, little gimmicky win con. But if you can do it, you can do it, right? It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. Something important to keep in mind is that Majin Buu Sealed Ball only plays the Majin Buu from the deck. So do your best to mulligan this bad boy. That's why we're paying 4 of into the deck. You want to make sure there's at least one copy of the deck for when the Majin Buu ball's sealed ball goes off. If it doesn't, that's okay. We have other other ways to burn, other ways to double strike and win our the game that we have to go in wide strategy. So I made sure I put in some extra ways to win other than just the ball. But it's there. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have, right? And that's the end of the video.